Alright guys, so finally making a video on these new GNB batteries I've been flying with for almost 2 months now, I think, maybe a little longer. I can't remember exactly when I got them, but yeah, I've been using them, and I wanted to get a bunch of flights on these to get an idea of, how they perform, and also how they would compare to some other batteries that I've been using before. So it takes a while to get a lot of that data in, at least collect my thoughts on how they've been performing, and I don't want to just like fly a few packs and then it's like, oh yeah, these are great batteries. That wouldn't make any sense. So sorry it took so long, but I did want to get a lot of flights in on these batteries before I made a video on them. So this is just a very small sample of the new packs that they've been making. They're actually continuing to make more packs. I think since I got these, they've come up with these new practice packs and a whole bunch of other ones. You can check their store out. They probably can show you all the latest things. But the thing with these new packs is they're all high volt batteries. And previously, if you look back at their old packs, which I still have and I still use them, they've been through hundreds of cycles, but they still perform pretty well. And these are these old ones here with the classic silver label, and those are standard volts. So you would charge them to 4.2 volts per cell. All of these high volts, you charge them to 4.35 volts per cell. And by going to high volt, what they're basically getting is a smaller and lighter pack for the same amount of capacity. So just as an example here, this one's going to be pretty obvious. This is an 850, and the way you can tell it's high volt is by the nominal voltage here, or the 15.2 volts here. And I kind of ignore this C rating here. It does have an effect a little bit. I'm kind of digressing here, but for example, here's a 120 to 240 C rating, and this is a 60 to 120, which is like half. And basically the difference is on these kind of packs, these are for more like long range flights, not like racing or high currents. It even says here meant for long range. So this going to be these batteries are going to be better for a lower amount of current, but it's going to give you that low amount of current for a longer flight. So the 1100 milliamp hours of capacity here, and again you have to charge it to a 4.35 volts per cell. But if you look at this 850 here, again high volt, and you compare it to their old 650, it's very similar in size. It's a little bit thicker and pretty similar in size. And also if you look at the weight is pretty similar as well. So the 850 new one here at high volt is an 86.7 gram pack, and then their 650 is about 76 grams. So this is actually still lighter. But if you look at their 850, which you just charge to 14.8 volts or 4.2 volts per cell, if you compare, you can see that it's a much bigger pack. It's about the same height, but a lot thicker. And so each individual cell is a lot thicker. So again, it's 86.8 grams versus the old 850. It's coming in at 100 grams. So yeah, so basically by going to high volt, they're stuffing in more electrons by going to higher voltage. And then when you come down to the same, if you end your pack at 3.6 volts per cell, you get more the capacity stuffed into a smaller battery and a lighter battery. So again, this is the same principle applies to other types of cells. So this is a 1300 4S 100C, and this is another pack that I use quite a bit. And it's older, but it still performs okay. 167 grams. But then you go to the GNB, and it is 131 grams, so quite a bit lighter. And you can see a lot thinner. It's a little taller there, but it's way thinner. And you can see the difference in the pack size. So again, smaller and lighter pack, but when you charge it to high volt, you get the same amount of capacity in terms of milliamp hours in and out. And lastly, on the 1300 6S here, this is another pack that I've been using for a while. much bigger and larger. And this is the 1300 GNB. So we'll go ahead and show you the weight here. 193.4. And then this one here, this is the older style, just going to 4.2 volts per cell, 242.1. So yeah, significantly heavier, like almost 50 grams heavier, and much larger pack overall and heavier overall. You can see the difference here in the pack size. But because you go to high volt, you can squeeze out that 1300 milliamp hours for a much lighter and smaller battery. So I already know everyone's going to be in the comments saying that high volt batteries are a gimmick and you shouldn't be charging anything to 4.35 volts per cell. I think not too long ago, most people would say that if you charge up most batteries to that higher voltage, it'll wear out the battery quicker. And now GNB tells me that that's not the case with these new batteries. For whatever reason, they claim that they have a different modified chemistry to their batteries, so that charging it to high volt doesn't degrade it as quickly as some older type cells. Now, there's no real way for me to test that claim until I keep charging these packs to high volt, and I'll come back to you in 2 years and let you know if these have held up compared to their older styles. So these, like here, these old style, these I just charge 4.2 volts per cell, and I take good care of them, and I keep them at storage voltage, and they still perform pretty well. I don't feel like I've lost too much performance off of these, even after hundreds of cycles. Now, obviously, they don't perform exactly the same as they did from day one. You're just going to get a loss in performance over time. That's just inevitable with any kind of battery technology. But that's probably going to be the case with this one as well. After you use it more and more, you're going to get a slow degradation over time. Now, the question is, how quickly does that degradation happen, and to what extent does that degradation happen? So, like, do you lose a certain amount of capacity, and how quickly does that happen? Now, even when, like, I've charged not these GNB cells, but other types of cells to 4.35 volts per cell when they were just regular batteries, and they did degrade. I felt they degraded faster. Now those kind of effects are more noticeable in smaller size packs. So, for example, Tiny Whoop 1S packs, for example, a lot of those people were charging them up to high volts, so through 4.35 volts per cell. A lot of those do puff up, and but those are small. Those are like 300 milliamp hours, 280 milliamp hours, tiny batteries. And so the effect is going to be more noticeable on a smaller cell. But if you go to a bigger 1300 milliamp hour cell, or even like a 650, the effect isn't as quick and as noticeable. But I have charged up other batteries to high volt, and it didn't really seem like it did much, like in terms of degrading the battery. And I did notice that it does happen, but I don't think I haven't really done that test specifically to see if it is going to matter. And of course, if you're using other brand batteries, they're not meant to be charged at high volt, they're probably going to degrade faster compared to these. So again, I'm going to continue to charge these to high volt for, until they basically wear out. But I've been using them for, quite a lot of packs. I mean, I haven't been keeping exact number of counts, but probably close to at least 50, 60 times on each of these in various flights over the last couple of months. I haven't noticed any difference in terms of performance or capacity, in terms of like how much capacity they're giving me. They're not puffing up at all. They don't get hot. That's another thing I've noticed is even on this this is not the greatest battery in the world, this URUAF battery. This one gets pretty warm when I discharge it to like 3.5 volts per cell, but like this one here, I can go all the way down to 3.5 volts per cell, and it doesn't even get warm at all. Again, it is a newer pack, so that could be one of the factors that makes a big difference. But yeah, I've been, I don't want to like take the battery down to like, under 3 volts per cell or 2.5 volts per cell, like that. That'll probably kill it. I typically try and take good care of my batteries, and I'll take it down to 3.6 or 3.5 volts per cell, and yeah, it's been as long as I've been not abusing it, it seems to be holding up pretty well. Again, time will tell if you continuously charging this to high volt is going to make a difference in the long run. I believe it will, but I think the question is, does it really matter? Because how long are you going to be using these cells for before you're going to be wanting to get maybe some different batteries and maybe repurposing these for something else that's not going to be drawing as high of a current? That has happened to a lot of my batteries where if I have something like this, I've been using it a long time and it's not performing as well, I just turn it into something else. Maybe I use it for a goggle battery or something like that. I repurpose it for something else, and then I get new packs. So, if you're a stickler and you want to have your packs last for 10 years, you probably don't want to get a high volt pack. You probably want to get like a regular, one of these standard packs here that you just charge at 4.2 volts per cell, and they just live with the fact that they're heavier and bigger. They're probably going to last longer, in my opinion. I just don't know what the actual difference is going to be. I mean, it could be that if you bought these both on day one, charge this one to high volt all the time and this one to 4.2 volts all the time, maybe this one here lasts a year longer than this one, and maybe the overall lifespan is going to be 3 years on this one and 4 years on the regular one. That I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's going to be like, oh, this is going to be dead in a month and this one's going to last 10 years. I don't think it's going to be like that kind of a difference. I think the difference isn't going to be huge, in my opinion. I'll have to keep using this and I'll let you know over time if I notice any difference. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. If you happen to watch this video in the far future, leave me a comment or a question down there, and I'll let you know if I still have these and how they're performing. Only time will tell. But right now, after a couple months, after many, many flights, they still perform like brand new as far as I can tell. And I do like the fact that they are lighter and smaller. And yeah, I am willing to give up a little bit of longevity of the pack for a lighter and smaller pack. And I think high volt is the way to go for the future, at least for those of you that are looking for more performance. Because if you fly a smaller and lighter pack, you're going to get more performance out of your quad just because compared to a heavier, bigger pack, just because, weight matters a lot in FPV. All right, that's enough for this video. Got any questions, let me know. Talk to you guys in the next one.